What's going on, fam? This is probably a box you've never really seen before, and in today's video I'm going to show you a Chinese brand founded in 2016 that has apparently fully custom football boots. Let's jump straight into it. So this is a brand called ID Customize or I Draw Customize. This is their brand logo here. This is Chinese. I'm not sure what this character is, but right here basically reads custom football boots. So that's what that is. They've got some interesting kind of ruler measurements here. Very, yeah, it's almost like their version of the blueprint design underneath the pad here. So there's nothing else on this box other than just the iDraw logoing. So this is going to be a really interesting review because I actually don't know really anything about the tech specs of this boot. They don't have anything on their website. And if we open them up, there's a little thing that keeps the this guy here. And if we do this, there you go. So you can see first class in football boots. So what's interesting about this whole situation is basically they reached out to me, said, hey, we want to give you a pair of football boots. Can you fill out this form? And I'll put the form up on screen next to me, kind of right here. I'll have Kelvin do that. And it's basically this massive thing that you circle the options that you want. And it's the same thing as if you go on their website, you can go through all of the options. And then this is basically what came out of it. So if we open these, just going to get this one out of, and here we go. All right. Wow. Very, very interesting. So this is, I went with apparently their K-leather model. I don't know how legitimate that actually is. But I assume they're telling the truth, and this actually is K-leather. So kind of interesting. It's very, very shiny, very slippery, but it is quite soft, if I'm honest. And then they have a knit material here that looks very inexpensive. If you poke a hole through here, and it's very, very open. There's a mesh-based synthetic material through this entire midfoot, which is going to give it very much like a Neo 4 Beta kind of vibe. And then believe it or not, look what that sole plate is. And yes, it actually says it on here. This is the torsion frame sole plate. I'm not actually sure if this is the actual torsion frame sole plate, but it says torsion frame on here. So my guess is that they've literally just gotten these from, it's either the same factory that Adidas uses, or they have ripped them off somehow, or they've tried to create the same stud pattern. So a very interesting pair of football boots. It says Blue Arrow here. I think that's what these boots are technically supposed to be, but they come in this foam padding that really does look kind of premium in some ways. The box is actually pretty cool. Like it's a nice box. It's very custom. It's different. It's a different dimension than I've ever seen before. And this pair of football boots is very interesting. It's actually quite soft, so I'm interested to see what the performance characteristics are like. The heel area here is a padded suede. It's very neutral, and so I imagine there's not going to be a ton of issues, although it almost feels so neutral and flat that I might have a little bit of hot spots, particularly right along the Achilles here. This looks like a piece of K-leather as well. It looks like they've put just a piece of K-leather down the spine of the heel area, and then the rest of this midfoot is that mesh synthetic, which you can see here, kind of that knit mesh, and then this is apparently K-leather. So an interesting boot, like very weird, very, very interesting. I'm kind of curious to know how these are actually going to fit, because I put my width sizing as well in here. So theoretically, if these are what they say they are, it should be a relatively custom fit, which is really interesting. I'm just sort of laughing at the fact that this has the torsion frame sole plate, and they haven't even, I don't know, messed up this lettering or anything. It literally says torsion frame right there. Hopefully you can see that right there, but which is very interesting. So ID Customize, my guess is this is called the Blue Arrow. This is like the Blue Arrow version. You can get your country logo and stuff on the back. I just wanted to go with a kind of a basic pair that didn't have anything crazy on it. And honestly, like, it doesn't look that bad for a boot that you kind of expect to be, it's like, I think there is a conversation to be had about made in China products, and a lot of stuff that's made in China is very good. It's very, very good. And the production capability and the manufacturing capability that China has is so far ahead of everyone else in the world that this shouldn't be the quality in hand of this boot shouldn't be necessarily a surprise. But when they reached out, I honestly was like, sure, you can send a free pair of boots out to me if you want, but like, I don't know. I can't promise anything. But this actually, like, it's not bad. It's not it was an Indonesian brand or Malaysian brand, Enkai, when Enkai sent their top end football boots out. So these retail for about 130 or 140 euros, and that's their top end, or $130. That's like their top end. Enkai's were like $40 for their top end boots, and these feel a lot more premium than those do. So if you want something that's, more customizable, we'll see kind of in the on feet portion of the video if these actually feel custom fit, similar to the way that the Inlotana boots were like custom, but were they custom? It was kind of that interesting question. Needless to say, it's actually not a bad looking pair of football boots. It's not the prettiest by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm interested by some of the choices they've made. Like, why would you put a piece of leather on the back but have knit here? And I don't know. There's a lot of random things about this, and honestly, around the seams, the production quality, yeah, okay. So right here, it literally looks like they haven't pulled the leather underneath the stud pattern, which is really interesting. So we'll see if that actually causes issues. Definitely some production stuff going on around this. They don't look all that well made, to be honest, but I am not going to judge a book by its cover, because really all that matters, and that I've harped on forever and ever, is how the boots fit and how they perform. So with that being said, let's jump on pitch, and whatever these are called, the ID Customize Blue Arrows, let's see if these actually hold up to the custom name that they are. Let's rock and roll. All right, guys, out on pitch with the ID Customize leather boots. I'm not sure what the actual technical name for this particular model is. Needless to say, this is a boot that I have absolutely zero expectations of, because they are definitely made with pieces and parts from other brands, which is kind of interesting. So we'll see how they go, how they fit. From people who I know who have tried these, apparently they're actually not super uncomfortable. Like, they actually fit pretty well out of the box. It's just going to be a matter of how these actually go in terms of performance. So let's get these on. I am, as always, using a pair of WeFoot grip socks. If you guys are interested in 20% off, feel free to get them down in the link below. Yeah, wow, okay. That's actually pretty surprising, to be honest. I thought these were gonna be a lot less comfortable. Leather feels pretty good. Laces, I like these sawtooth laces. They use these sawtooth laces actually on a lot of Nike, Asics, Mizuno race running shoes. And I just think they look really cool, and they also function incredibly well because that sawtooth material basically holds them in place. That's actually really surprising how comfortable these are. Wow. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Let's get the other one on. As I said before, though, these are a football boot that I don't have a whole lot of sort of performance expectations of, and my hope is actually that they fit really well, because otherwise when a boot doesn't perform well and doesn't really fit all that well, I tend not to enjoy the session as much, just because it's just annoying, and I don't want to wear boots that don't fit. In terms of sizing, as you can see from the tip of the toe, there is a tiny bit of extra room on the end, which is great. So these are right in my usual size 9 US. The fit feels really, really good, honestly. And that forefoot area feels like it's already kind of stretching around my foot, which is really nice. So pretty good flexibility in that upper as well. So let's get some first touch impressions, juggling and dribbling through the cones. Yeah, honestly, not bad. Like, these are pretty decent, to be honest. The underfoot feel is a little bit awkward. I don't know if that's because they've put something in the midsole or what, but yeah, as we get warmed up here, I am interested to see how these perform from a kind of lateral stability side of things, and also just the way that this sole plate performs if it is in fact the torsion frame. Now, the other piece that I did mention in the unboxing is the heel area, because it is such a kind of a neutral heel area. There isn't there isn't a whole lot of kind of room in terms of contouring in that heel. And so I am feeling like as I start to get into more shooting where there's that sideways planting, that's where the heel is going to start to slip, but let's find out. All right, we'll start with a little bit of passing and shooting. This is more of like a warm up for the adductors. So just passing off the wall, nice little touch, and to the side, and kind of wrap into the corner. I'm not really focused on any sort of power here, but you get the idea. We've done this before. So gotta press go on the watch. Make sure we follow me on Strava if you're interested in my training sessions. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. So fit and feel already half decent, if I'm honest. Like, I actually think these are very, very comfortable football boots. There's really not much I can feel like I'm gonna be able to complain about with these in terms of the fit and comfort. That being said, as I mentioned before, performance really is one, but number two is gonna be the way that these break in and how durable they are over time. Because I think, you know, if these are a brand that are made with sort of leftover products, if you will, or leftover materials, then that can get pretty rough pretty quickly in terms of the way that a boot breaks in, but then sort of falls apart pretty quickly. All right, next little one here, bouncing off the wall. Oy, hello. And then through, and then just pass it into the corner. Nice little striker drill here. Trying to get this. I wish this would pop up just slightly, a little bit more maybe, but we'll see. Works pretty well so far. Maybe I need to be further back. There we go. That's a little bit better. Nice. Ideally, when you're inside the 18-yard box, between that and the PK spot, you're literally just passing in the net, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel a little frisky, wanna get a top bins going. Here we go. Lovely. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what there is to complain about. These feel really remarkably good. I'm pretty surprised at how soft the forefoot is. The midfoot knit material, so the midfoot is made of like a knit with a polyurethane coating over it, and it's very much a similar construction to the Neo 4 Beta, but it has a much softer kind of feel to it, where the Neo 4 Beta is like super locked in and very much like it's got like that speed boot feel. These are like, oh, it's knit on the side, almost like a regular vapor or a knit boot, as opposed to like the Neo 4, which is meant to be like super, super locked in. All right, a little more proper shooting here. Get the right foot going, passing against the wall, touch on the inside of these cones, and then just kind of place it, if I can, into that top corner. So touch here, and then that's obviously more of a bottom corner shot, but you get the idea. A little bit of a placement. Now, in terms of lockdown, like I was saying before, that's that type of movement where I'm planting and there's a little bit of space right there, but I get that with pretty much every football boot. So for me, it's a matter of like, is that, there we go, that's a little bit better. Is that sort of plant motion as the boots break in, am I gonna go anywhere? If not, huge, huge positive. If so, maybe not as good of a boot. Nice, right in the bottom corner, love that. Doesn't need to be the most powerful, but man, those bottom shots are freaking awesome. Here we go. Yeah, bouncing off the cones, hello. Oh, lovely, right down the middle. With the grip socks, I don't feel slippage very much. The heel area doesn't feel 100% secure, but it isn't really slipping. And so that's obviously a good thing. Oh, dang, unlucky. All right, last couple of drills. One of the things that I really love about the format, hello,
there we go, that I really love about the format of this type of boot. And you see Icon 2 with it, you see even Pure 3, the Morelia Neo series, DS Lite, X Fly 5 and 6. Hui, hello. Ear post, lovely. Is that you have all of the benefit of that plush touch in the forefoot area. So every time I'm dribbling, or well, dribbling I guess, but also juggling, it's got this really nice plush feel to it. But then when you do passing and there's all sort of kind of that more barefoot feel, it does give more of that like speed boot kind of focus, which is kind of cool. So that in combination with the torsion frame, which is just hilarious that they've even left the branding on there, is actually like this whole package is actually quite nice. All right, getting some free kicks, guys. Here we go. Maybe 2 or 3 of these, and then we'll rock and roll into the conclusion. Honestly, been pretty impressed. I mean, we could just end the video there. Wow. That was a crazy shot. Oh, wow. Okay. No way I'm recreating that. Similar, just a little bit lower. We'll go one more. Try to get a good last shot for you guys. But in all seriousness, I think the ID Customize, although sort of a weird amalgamation of like a bunch of different boots, and they feel kind of similar to a bunch of different stuff as well, kind of put together, I do think that if you want something that's kind of super unique and doesn't really exist in the Western markets, I think this might be something that you consider. All right, guys, wrapping up the first initial impressions playtest with these ID Customize leather somethings, whatever they're called. And I'm not trying to be an asshole about it. I literally just don't know what these are actually called. I think on the website, it literally just says ID Customize leather, synthetic, knit, something else. And I opted for the leather model. So in terms of shape and fit, whether they've actually taken those initial measurements or tick boxes that I put onto that little customized sheet, it almost looks like when you order a sandwich from a deli and you have all those different tick options. That's what designing these or building these kind of felt like. And in terms of foot shape and the way that these fit straight out of the box, almost perfect. I've got a little bit of hot spot right at the seam between the knit and the leather, but outside of that, leather is incredibly soft. I mean, that is like really impressively soft. There is already a little bit of wear on the toe, so fair enough. As I mentioned before, durability might not be the greatest on these, but that also might be me just playing into a stereotype that probably shouldn't exist, because Chinese manufactured products are, for the most part, actually quite good. Torsion frame, really nothing to complain about. I actually really rated it on the Nemesis line, as well as the Pure line, the Pure 1 and 2. And so I have nothing to say about these. They perform great on an AG pitch. They're going to be great on an FG pitch as well. So overall, am I going to rank these in the top, most comfortable boots? Maybe. In terms of performance, pretty good actually. Like, I was pretty surprised at the lateral lockdown. This midfoot does stretch ever so slightly, but it's going to err more on the side of the Morelia Neo Beta series, which is a little bit more solid feeling. So the knit is not great quality, honestly, but it does allow that midfoot to stretch quite a bit through the lacing system. So the Blue Arrow, maybe that's what they're called, the ID Customized Blue Arrow. So overall, actually pretty decent. I was honestly not expecting these to be anything close to a top-end football boot, and was more, oh, these are probably just going to be another Enkai product or another something else. These are actually like proper comfortable. I actually really enjoyed playing in these, so very cool. As always, be awesome. Take care. See you guys in the next video.